we're back, and today we're going to be working on the Arrma Kraton 4S V2.5. This truck, the only problem I've ever had with this entire thing is been steering. I'm trying to get steering power. Yes, I upgraded the servo, but then the servo saver is really weak. So somebody suggested a product that I had come across, or somebody in the comments suggested a product from Garage Life RC that might help solve the servo saver problem. And I don't know how I came across Garage Life RC, but I had already been signed up for their emails and stuff. You know, I like to keep a close eye on RC product and stuff. They do a lot of 3D printed items for Arrmas and lots of other stuff. And so this one here doesn't say on their tag, but this is a servo riser so that you can install their heavy-duty servo saver. And I'm sure it works with others, so you just buy the riser. But I bought the whole kit. The whole kit was $50, and it comes with the Arrma new receiver box. And the only reason you get the new receiver box is because he pre-trims the inside of the receiver box. You could do that yourself. Comes with a new lid, all the components that go with that, all new hardware. Here's a 3D printed riser, and is what this does is lifts the radio box up high enough so that the servo saver that sticks out the bottom, which is this aluminum unit here, this one is the 25 tooth. Don't forget, if you're running stock servos, you'll need the 23 tooth. On version 1s, and I even believe the Mojave, and then the other versions are starting to go to 25. You're gonna need to check your spline. That's all I'm gonna say, because I don't know which ones they've totally changed. But this one, 25 tooth. This has an upgraded EcoPower servo in it that's super powerful. Even though I upgraded it to a hot racing upgraded heavy duty aluminum servo saver, it still is not working. The servo's got plenty of power, but the servo saver's too loose. So we're going to try this unit and see if this solves the problem. Now, I did originally buy this to try to solve another problem on the Mojave 4S, which is the constant problem of rocks getting stuck in the steering, and figured the riser would lift it up. It uses a lot narrower servo saver. This truck also has the problem occasionally where the rocks get stuck in there and the servo saver can't move around. This riser would give it more space between the case, and we'll see. We'll see if that solves any of the rock problems. But on this truck, this is going to solve the servo saver problem. It's full aluminum, 3-piece with a spring, and it's totally adjustable with a knurled ring. We're going to make sure she's tightened down pretty good, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. Should be a pretty quick thing, except that we have to undo all the wire mess, which is not the most convenient thing on these Arrmas. On the 4S or the 3S, the way that the wires are tucked in. We'll just start undoing some stuff here. Switch, ESC's all got to come off. So this is the only part that sucks, is having to deal with all this wiring nightmare down in there. Servo saver, or the servo arm, right through this little hole here that disconnects everything. Just need to remove the 4 flat heads off the bottom there. Now the whole receiver box and servo, everything should pull up. There's that. Look at the rocks in there. These things like to eat rock. Alright, so see this servo saver? How big around it is, and there's not much room. Once something gets in there, it can't get out. My hope is that this narrow servo saver, plus having the height of the servo, that the rocks won't get in there as much. But like I said, on this truck, we're more or less worried about this flimsy servo saver. And we'll definitely hang on to the servo saver and probably put it in one of our granites or something else. Okay, so we got the radio box all switched out. You can see it's cut out here, so it'll clear. So that's been done. And the biggest pain in the butt about this whole part is getting the wire stuffed in there. I don't care what anybody says. That is the biggest pain. Trying to feed the wires in there and then like put this on top of it without all the wires puking out. I have an extra wire because I'm running a BEC because this does not have an adjustable BEC, so that's another steering thing. I would like not to run a BEC, but I would need to change the ESC in order to do that, and I'm not going to do that. So we've already centered up the servo. There we go. We'll dabble. Put some thread lock on there to seep in the threads to keep it from backing off so we don't get it loose. So we need to throw the insert, the spacer, down inside there. So we're going to use the Hot Racing steering bar. We have got it all installed. I will say, as I mentioned before, routing the wires in these 3 and 4S trucks is a major pain in the butt. The ESC being on top of the box, and then you have to tuck wires under it, it is kind of a pain in the butt. That took forever just to get them tucked in there. But we got that. Everything else went fairly smooth, except for, I would say that the riser combined with this, trying to line up the holes, it's not that they didn't line up or anything was made out of alignment. It's hard to get it through the chassis, through the thing, and then line this up at the same time. Whereas when you don't have the riser, it just kind of sits right in the chassis. So is why what I ended up using was like an awl or a bit and shoved it up through the holes and kind of tried to pre-line it up. That took a minute to get figured out. I do also think the screws that were sent with this could be about 3 millimeters longer, because one of them stripped out really easy. It just went in and then didn't even tighten. So I think they could be a little bit longer, but other than that, it's in. I guess the biggest thing is, let's see how this does and see if the servo saver is weak or not weak. Now this is the EcoPower 250T, and it is an awesome servo. If you guys are looking for a servo for a crawler, a servo for a basher, it's a good price. It's about $105, somewhere in there, which is anywhere from $30 to $60 cheaper than some of the other servos out there that have the same torque specifications. I think this thing does up to close to 800 ounces. I could be wrong. I'm not looking at the specs right now, but it does 6 volt, 7.4, 8.4 volts. Completely waterproof. Backed by EcoPower, which is owned by Main Hobbies. So getting any of their servos and stuff warranted is not a problem. So that's why I chose this, is because the price was pretty decent. I mean, that servo just... I think the servo saver looks like it's working pretty good, actually. Oh yeah, it's not moving too much. So anyway, if you guys are looking for a steering upgrade for your 4S, Mojave, Outcast, or Kraton, I would suggest the Garage Life, We will take it out, we're going to run it, we're going to test it and make sure it's doing it, but just bench testing it, I'd say looks pretty good. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video. It was kind of short, and I didn't want to film the wiring, which is a giant nightmare, and then getting the screws in the bottom. I filmed some of that, but then it was kind of like figuring out how to line it up. So anyway, short little video about a product out there, all made in the US. Like, subscribe, and share. Buy at your local hobby shop if you can. Some of these specialty items like Garage Life and Cliff McCraw, a bunch of these other small companies, they're not going to be carried in your hobby shop, but you know what? You're supporting small US companies, small US RC companies, and that's what this hobby's about. Okay, thanks guys.